I never once imagined the possibility that I would have to leave the hospital without my son.
What goes through your mind?
I had a heavy weight on myself of what kind of father I wanted to be. Money doesn't disappear, it shifts. The money's out there. I just got to put myself in the way of it. Since 2012, we were building websites in Shopify. I got up to 6-figure plus in affiliate commissions from Shopify. We already had a knowledge base that we had created, and we were like, oh, we could just literally remove the brand from our knowledge base and then other people could use it. The business only grows as much as you do. And a lot of folks, their business plateaus, and so then they just go and do the same thing. I know how to kill a bear, but I just want something slightly different, so I'm gonna go and hunt a buffalo.
Synonymous with HighLevel's top agencies, HL Pro Tools is powering their back end. Technical support, infrastructure being built around HighLevel, making HighLevel successful for some of the top HighLevel agencies. I know when I started my journey, I implemented HL Pro Tools to be my technical support team, handling our customer onboarding as well as our 24/7 live chat. Now, today, I bring in Matt Deseno, who is the founder of HL Pro Tools, sharing with you key insights of building a multi-million-dollar business, but also selling a SaaS for multiple 7 figures. What does that look like, having a 7-figure SaaS and being able to sell it? What does that process take? What is the mindset of a CEO who has a multi-million-dollar business that is built on and around HighLevel's infrastructure? If you're interested, if you're curious, and you want to know the ins and deep in the mind of Matt Deseno, welcome to this 2-part episode where I share with you the breakdown of HL Pro Tools and the mindset of running a multi-million-dollar business online. Without further ado, let's get started. Matt Deseno, man, I'm so excited to have you here. First and foremost, let's get right into it. Tell me a little bit about HL Pro Tools. What does HL, because that's like one of your babies, like your main baby, it seems like.
It's probably the biggest baby that's left. Over the last year, I've sold a number of things. And so we focus on making HighLevel easier. I think of it as like it's tools, it's training, it's team. We're most known as kind of like that outsourced support company. We come in, maybe we'll help people launch, grow, support, but that's what we're mostly known for, is providing direct support to folks inside of HighLevel, making complicated things clear and frustrating situations actually delightful. Yeah. And so that's what we do.
And how did this get started in the first place? Like, most people come into HighLevel either as a business owner or as an agency owner. Yeah. And how do you become a third-party vendor towards HighLevel, the platform?
It was not thought through, wasn't intended. Do you want the 2-minute version or the 10-minute version?
The 2-minute version.
Okay, 2-minute version. Had an agency since 2012. We wanted to build our own software in 2018. Got introduced to HighLevel in December of 2018. They just launched with like Rob Bailey. And so there was less than 100 people in the Facebook group signed on, and we launched our white label SaaS, primarily serving businesses in California. A year later, COVID hit.
Yeah.
Businesses in California shut down. We had, it was a disaster, mostly because we were doing performance marketing. So our high ticket stuff got absolutely crushed. Our low ticket stuff, the SaaS, was stable. And, but team was subsidized largely by the high ticket stuff. And it was an idea from the team. They were like, hey, we do all this stuff already for our like SaaS brand over here. There's probably other people using HighLevel, and we could do the same thing for them. So we thought of it as like, just how do I not have to fire people on the team? And so we launched HL Pro Tools in 2020.
In 2020 or 2019? No.
2020.
2020. So
it was a year. It was about 15 months after we'd started in HighLevel, because I did not come into it knowing that we needed to have support. I came into it thinking, we're just going to, basically when you do the agency stuff, you're coming in to provide services for folks and they don't care what software they're using.
Yeah.
And so I had started by doing affiliate marketing. That was like, I didn't start with affiliate marketing, but I had accidentally became an affiliate because I was like, we did this since 2012. We were building websites in Shopify. And so they had this thing where it was like, hey, if you just start the website as like it was like a developer portal there, you became an affiliate. I got up to like, 6-figure plus in affiliate commissions from Shopify. And I was like,
monthly recurring?
No, that was annual.
Annual
recurring. And then it clicked. I was like, oh my gosh, we can do this for other software. So for us, it was 2012 to 2016. All we did was websites.
Yeah.
Primarily. It was just that. It was just websites or like digital build outs, some applications there. And then in 2016 is when we shifted. We were like, we got to learn marketing. I knew nothing about marketing going into like literally 2016. And then it was under that, we realized we needed like 7 different tools to do really good build outs for folks. And so we would say, hey, you need to sign up for these 7 things. We give them our affiliate links. And so that's the process that we're going. And then it was in 2018, Shopify rewrote the rules and took away all my affiliate commissions.
Did Shopify come in with investors? Did investors come in and make some changes? Was it just their corporate structure? Was it P&L stuff? Like they just wanted more profit on the bottom line?
This happens pretty commonly. So they're a public company. I actually don't know what year they went public, if they were public before 2012 or if that happened after 2012. But, the affiliate play is you're essentially, I'm referring a customer.
Yeah.
That works all front loaded. It could be as easy as me saying like, hey, this is a great thing to try, Andy, you should sign up. And you'd be like, great, awesome. And then in reciprocity, the company says, I'll pay you a commission potentially forever. It's usually the younger companies do that. They're like, hey, you send me over here, I'll give you, Shopify was 20%. 20% of everything they were doing inside of Shopify, I got commission on, and I was doing build outs in Malibu. So we had some big brands that we transferred over to Shopify. So it wasn't like 20% of a $10 plan. Like they were paying thousands of dollars per month to Shopify, and we were getting a cut of all of that.
Wow.
On the start, businesses like affiliate marketing because it's like low risk to them. Like, you send me a customer, I'll give you this X% forever. When they mature, and especially if they get other investors or if the company goes public, it'd be like, hey, everybody, we're going to vote. Do you want to keep on paying Matt for a customer he sent us 7 years ago? And everyone's like, no, because that just turns, like, you cut out your affiliates, immediately becomes profit. And so that's what happened to me.
I wonder if that was a good play on their side, if what happened afterwards, or because they were public, they had enough resources.
It's mature, right? And so what they do now, like, because Shopify still is an affiliate program, they just redrew it to say you have to be an active affiliate. So I don't know their exact terms right now. So it's basically like because what had happened is we had stopped doing e-commerce build outs. So I wasn't sending them any more customers. And so it's not unreasonable terms. It's disappointing. It's definitely a change in expectations, right? When you start off, you're like, I'm going to give you this customer and you're going to pay me forever. And so I had in my mind that I was like, this is my retirement.
Yeah.
This is amazing. This is affiliate marketing is magical. And so that was definitely a pivot of maturity there, realizing that like, okay, eventually the terms of engagement are probably going to change.
Yeah.
And at the very least, they'll probably say, you have to send us X amount of customers per year or in a period. Otherwise, you lose all of your affiliate commissions, because they're trying to say, stay active, keep on growing with us. Otherwise, we're going to cut you off.
Do you think HighLevel will do that?
100%. Not while the founders are controlled. I'll say this is just as a business owner now, this is a reasonable playbook.
Yeah.
Like, to make space for active affiliates and to encourage affiliates to like
continue to grow.
And now I think some people hear this and they're like so disappointed. I don't know. Like, I'm just being real. I'm 100%. I would bet all of my affiliate commissions that those terms are going to change.
So
we've already seen HighLevel mature in their terms.
Yeah. We so there's this like conversation that takes place in the HighLevel ecosystem that I've been a part of in the last 3.5-4 years, and where the way that SaaS came about was the SVR, the co-founders saw, or the tech team or someone on the HighLevel leadership board saw people using it as a SaaS, where they built Zaps and automations.
Yeah.
Were you one of those players that
100%
was building the SaaS before it was SaaS?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. We were doing SaaS before it was SaaS.
So what did that? I
remember having those conversations with Sean. Literally, this is kind of crazy to go back, but I started off day one. This is like back in the day. It was a personal phone call on Sean's cell phone is how I became a customer. And when I became a customer, they already had their idea board, but we're talking less than 100 people in the Facebook group.
Yeah.
So like I came
now
on
over 100,000.
Yeah, now there's 100,000. Like less than 100 now at present day, over 100,000. But I literally became a customer because on the sign up there, their funnel looked so horrible. I actually couldn't believe that it was a real offer, what they were presenting. They had like one price, unlimited sub accounts. They had no reselling anything. You just connected your things. If you want to use Twilio, connect Twilio. If you want to use Mailgun, connect Mailgun. And so I could literally only pay HighLevel at most $297.
Okay.
And I could immediately put on, we had a few hundred sub accounts. And it was like, every other person that I talked to that had any sort of like reseller program, it was per sub account. And so it was sketchy. And so on the sign up form, they were like, hey, if you have any questions, call this number. I called the number and I remember it was like a person walking outside who answers kind of like, hello. And my immediate reaction was like, I'm so sorry. This must be the wrong number. Like, I think someone's, running a scam with your phone number. And Sean's like, no, it's me. It's HighLevel. How can I answer any questions there? And so, I think it was during COVID when, they were, I think it was 2021 actually, all the way into the year there. And I remember there was a couple things that happened and got launched during COVID, or in that, like even into 2021. And I had a conversation with them. I was like, I think this is 100% the future, brainstorming through, SaaS mode. And they saw and were observing, but I did it from day one. That was why I wanted to launch it.
What was the tech like to be able to do that? Was it Zaps? Did you have API endpoints to be able to do that?
We literally built, that's why we have our HL Pro Tools Zap. We built that because that's what we were doing for ourselves to automate the account creation. I worked with their team we were like, could you give us these API endpoints? And so they just had what is now like their V1 of an API documentation to automate, like to allow the automation of certain things to happen inside of HighLevel. And we were doing it. That was one of the things, like we were doing it for ourselves. HL Pro Tools came out and I was like, and here's our Zap, because we built it for ourselves to make it easier for the team to like automate these certain things inside of Zapier. We were just like, hey, team.
Was rebilling part of that? Were you doing rebilling before rebilling was a thing?
We never did rebilling. We didn't even adopt rebilling. I still am adamant. It's I get there's a risk reward there. Always. I think this is just this is a hot take I have. Pay as you go, like true price per interaction, is an enterprise pricing strategy there. It's very common, right? If you're a big business, all of them have to pay this way. If I use AWS, I do like mail, like when you're sending hundreds of thousands of emails, there's no such thing as an unlimited plan.
Yeah.
Because you've grown out the size of unlimited. Yeah. But if I look at the businesses and pricing structures that do very well, they typically box thresholds. They say you get up to this amount and you don't have to think about it, because SMB, small, medium-sized businesses, have a higher priority for predictability, less of a priority for scalability, if that makes sense. So like the pay as you go, it's called like an elastic pricing model. This is a lot of cloud services pioneered this, where they were like, hey, you essentially give us a blank check. But I remember this with like hosting, go web hosting. Back in the day, you had a lot of these unlimited hosting plans, and they would sort of obfuscate what was unlimited, right? Because there technically are limits. They just focus on the unlimited aspects.
Yeah.
And the problem would be, let's say your website goes viral, you get a ton of traffic, and the server, your host, is basically like, I'm not serving you anymore. You got this $2 per month, $5 per month web hosting service, and they're like, oh, you've got a ton of traffic, you're not our customer anymore.
Yeah.
And so it turns out it's not unlimited. There is a limit, they just didn't communicate it. So in that space, in that time, then you're like, oh, I care about scale. I want things to stay online even if I have a surge. And so that's where like AWS and other cloud service providers had a thing where it's like, hey, you can grow infinitely. You're just paying us pennies per interaction. So if you had a moment where you went viral and now like your web hosting bill was $500, you were like, that's fine.
That's scalability versus predictability.
Yeah. And so that's what I'd say. So like the rebilling, which HighLevel currently runs right now, which is, I think it's optimized for scalability. It'll stay online. You know your price. And if you need to send out 100,000, you could literally send out 2 million emails with HighLevel tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, good. Is it going to cost you a lot? Like, yeah, it is. It's going to cost you a lot. Obviously, it costs more to send 2 million emails versus 20 emails. And so for us, we never did the rebilling there because I optimize our pricing for predictability. So
but they're going to pay usage, or you're going to pay usage.
They just didn't know they were paying usage. You know what I mean? Like everybody, there's always a cost there. It's like Amazon. It's free shipping. Do you really think like you're not paying for shipping? No, they just bake it into the cost. And so that's what we did. We baked it into the cost.
In the subscription or
in the subscription.
In the subscription. And
we just monitor it on the back end.
So if someone goes out of fair use.
That's exactly right. It's a conversation. Congrats. And so this is what we actually did in the early days. We said, congrats, your business is thriving. We actually are going to give you complete freedom here. And so you can sign up for your own Twilio account and we'll plug it in and then you get to pay Twilio directly. Essentially, they've graduated to like enterprise.
Yeah.
And we didn't have to tell them we were charging them anything more. We weren't. So they still had the predictability. It's like they were still only paying us exactly what they signed up to pay us for. We just no longer let them use our Twilio account or our Mailgun account. And we just said like, sign up for Mailgun or sign up for Twilio. And so we just separated those costs and that's how we mitigated it. Now, in the early days, that was all you could do with HighLevel.
Yeah.
Like you could plug in your own Twilio account, you could plug in your own Mailgun account,
right,
or you could plug in a different one. And so that's how we did that. If they graduated out, so we had low friction to sign up. It was like, hey, we take care of it, texting, email, it's all included in here. And then if they came out of our fair usage, then we just said, hey, we actually have a better plan now where you can control all the costs, go direct. And we just had them sign up for these two things, plug it in. And then we had we actually became more profitable when they would do that. But we found in the early days, now this is small, medium-sized businesses. Also, it was cheaper then. We didn't have A2P. There were all these other fees that exist today that did not exist back then. So it was literally, this is
pay per usage.
It was like $1 for the phone.
Yeah.
And then it was just cheap. Like look at pricing across the board, 2020 versus 2025. Things have, just compared to In-N-Out. You look at like In-N-Out inflation and you're like, oh my gosh, a burger was like $2.70, a double double was like $2.79. Now it's like $5.49. It's almost like 100% change in pricing there. And so we were definitely in the glory days. I mean, it's 2019 technically.
Yeah.
And it was very cheap. And so our average usage across the board was like less than, I still remember we kept on like auditing from that perspective. Up until 2021, 22, I still remember it was like $8 per sub account.
Oh, okay.
Per month.
Got it. Yeah.
Was our cost there. So instead of telling them like, hey, you got to pay us $300 and then you pay $8 in usage or like 2xing it so they pay 16, I didn't want them. Basically, I didn't want this to happen. I didn't want to have that perverse incentive in our pricing where many businesses and business owners struggle with this, is like we major in the minors, and they will penny pinch. Like this is what would happen. This month I had to pay $25 for my usage. You know what? Just stop using the text messages in there. I'll just use I'll use my cell phone. And now you're not using the system. And then 3 months later, they're like, what do we even use this system for? Let's just cancel. I'm like, no, I want you to use it, find value in it, and not worry and think like, if we get more leads this month, I'm going to pay $10 more. It's such a funny phenomenon. There's a couple communities now of folks that have sold businesses and sort of had at least like one windfall where your bank account goes from like normal to like, this is way above normal. And the funny thing in these conversations is, for so many folks, they struggle with like, they will still nitpick like, am I paying for HBO Max and Hulu? I should actually be having these combined to save the $5. And it is a weird thing. A lot of people struggle with this. It's like even if you have like millions of dollars in your bank account, they're like, I need to cut the $5. And so business owners, it goes all the way at all those levels where they'll be like, you're paying $500 for the software and your bill for usage went from like 16 to 25. And you think like, how do I cut that?
So, but
$8.
Is that customer who has that mentality in what they care about is predictability, or are they?
That's how it gets tracked. I'm telling you, in accounting, like I just know now the business is big enough. You know what? Like call it the gut check of what happens. Like payroll. You know what our HR payroll is like? Was there any significant changes?
Mm-hmm.
We're just constantly, this is just humanity. Everything's in comparison to what?
Yeah.
And so if you want to draw someone's attention to it, make a change. And so ironically, what gets called out in the business or like for their accountants, they'll be like, hey, you were paying $8 for Netflix. Now you're paying $14 for Netflix. Like that was it. Like,
and it puts attention on it.
It puts attention on that, but they might have had some other expense that's like $200 per month and they're not even using it as much as they use Netflix.
It doesn't change.
But it didn't change. So like they don't even look at it. And so that's what we try to optimize for is reducing change. I'll tell you, like here's a mistake we made. We did pricing changes for sleepy customers.
We talked about that.
I remember, I've learned that is the worst mistake you can make. If you got someone who's paying you and it's profitable, if you make a change there, like you better know that their value, it's like critical to their business.
So would you make those price? So yeah, you're talking about like 2-3 years ago, right?
Yeah.
The one you did 2-3 years ago. And I remember I got an email and I was like, what the fuck? But I was thinking to myself, that might be a good business move because there's the conversation like if you're looking to grow in revenue, okay, yes, go and get more customers.
Yeah,
but if
just
you
change
have
the price,
or you could just change the price.
So I'm not against changing your price. What I'm saying is it is unwise to change your price for sleepy customers.
So what you would change differently is based on usage. If they're actually using it and can justify the price increase, then make that move.
And big brands do this all the time.
But if they're sleepy customers and they're already profitable,
don't touch them.
Don't touch them.
Yep. This is, a prime example of this. It happens kind of in like both scenarios here, but you see this in telecom or like, especially in like direct to consumer, you see this in mass. And so let's go with your phone provider. Most of the time, this is actually what happens is the price goes down as time goes on. Let's say you got cable. Like my mother-in-law just went through this experience of like, she was paying for AT&T Uverse. It doesn't exist anymore. AT&T Uverse is not a product. They're not pushing it. They don't even do it anymore. And when, it's like, I don't know what the pricing is there. She's got like 40, not even, I was going to say gigs, megabytes per month, like internet speed. Like this is insane. Most of us are measuring like, do you have 1 or 5 gigs per month? She's 40 megabytes per month, internet speed. They got all the sort of stuff there. And I think it was like $200 per month or something like that. And it's like, they're not sending those customers promotions. They're like, sales team, don't even talk to these people. Don't speak to them. Don't make them aware. Now, on one front, it's because it's like nonsensical. They're basically they're paying for an outdated plan. Whereas if they refresh their plan right now, they would save money.
Yeah.
And, but then the other thing that I'd say that happens is, like, I'm sure if you look like Netflix, they have folks that they know that never log into Netflix. And those folks could still be paying $8 per month because they have the data to be like, if I tell this person a change is happening and I have the data to say they pay for us and don't even use us.
What you're really saying is like retention at its core, like little, and which is what I wanted to talk about, right? Some tactical retention, because that's a huge mistake, right? If you're saying you got 100, 200, whatever the number of customers, and if you change the price points on sleepy customers, you end up losing.
Well, and that's what happens in like the resell. That's essentially what's happening. They will look at how much they spend with you per month, and it's always variable. And so ironically, the intention is that if they're spending more, it means they're using it more. Sometimes it just means they made a mistake.
But is that because, like, so for example, if you go back in 2020 or 2019, the line items on a P&L would say, you're a SaaS company, so let's say it's HL Pro Tools, and that is one flat fee, but the usage, they got to pay for usage, but it's a different line item. So it'll say Twilio and Mailgun versus HL Pro Tools. I'm paying extra, and it's up and down. It's up and down.
That's exactly right. So they would feel the variability and the volatility
on the provider
with Twilio and Mailgun. And we literally had folks, they would complain to us like, oh my gosh, I'm spending so much on Twilio. If you go back, even in the Facebook group, people would say this, like, I'm spending, like, Twilio's so expensive. And you're like, undeniably, it's not expensive. It'd be like me saying, like, AWS is expensive. Now, we spend tens of thousands of dollars a month on AWS, but I use it a ton. But if you can sign up for AWS right now, they got a free plan, or like if you start hosting, like, you would see low usage would be ultra low cost, right? Because they're charging a penny per interaction or whatever it is. It's not expensive. It can become a large item if you use it a lot. But so but
you're using it
because you're using it. But the conversation shift. I remember this distinctly. We had customers be like, "Oh, Twilio's so expensive." I'm like, "I know. I'm so sorry." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I didn't have to like convince them like, "Well, it's because you're using it a lot." You know what I mean? It's the cost of doing business. It's like you see this more. It's like people who complain about taxes make more money.
So where does support come in? At what point did you say, "Hey, you know what? Let's do the support thing"?
Well, so so we launched in 2019 to customers as like a SaaS. And what we realized is it was like our strategy was separate brands. It's because I wanted to fold it into our regular sales process. Our regular sales process was
Dominate Local?
Yeah.
HL Pro Tools?
And no, it was BAM. BAM and Dominate Local. And so BAM was getting customers as an agency, performance-based marketing. So our sales process, all that stuff was happening there of like, basically, we'll build out your marketing machine, we'll put money in your pockets, and you'll pay us from the money we put in your pocket. That was it. And the nice thing was, we even had a flow where it's like literally day one, you could pay us nothing. Now, how do we subsidize that? We'd be like day one, but we tell them like, hey, you don't have to pay us anything to build out the system here. It's probably going to cost you about $500 a month for all these tools to like get it all working. And we just slid in. Dominate Local is like one of the things they're signing up for because they were still, I forget all the stuff. Like it didn't do everything. Like we actually even still did like other funnel builders and stuff like that. Like so we were affiliating 5 to 7 other things. We just put ours in there as like part of. They got this spreadsheet. We automated like creating a spreadsheet. Looked like this was like their to-do list or like, and it literally had the links and our affiliate link, and they just go through and click the link, sign up, and they type in their credentials, and that's how we got access. So we even asked them to give us their credentials for our white label SaaS because we kept it independent. Because I had a hunch, like we'd been in it enough times to know that like people churn the service provider faster than they churn the software. And even in the performance marketing space, what we found is if you either do really, basically if you do well, they churn, or if you do poorly, they churn. So it's on both sides. It was really unfortunate reality is their capacity was our limiter. So we were trying to find businesses that had greater capacity, and we tell them up front because I'm like, think of this too. Like we were running the full machine, Facebook ads. We knew how to do it very cost effectively. Local businesses, and I'll tell you, go back in the day, we would target businesses in cities with less than 30,000 people because we knew I could run Facebook ads for XYZ business in these cities. And we could get leads for less than $1.
Yeah.
And so we had a very, yeah, I know. And so it was a very now if you went into like a metropolitan area, a very busy, congested area, there's more competitors, and advertising back then, you're not competing with other people in the same business. You're just competing with advertisers in general. So if you were like a bakery, we were like, it costs more to advertise in Santa Monica, not because other bakeries are advertising, but because all these other businesses are advertising. There's just more advertisers on Facebook. Yeah. But if we went to these cities or towns, call them whatever they are, less than 30,000 population, we found there was less people directly targeting ads there. And so Facebook would reward us because it was like maybe the first, like there was less than 5 businesses that actually focused on advertising in this city or town. And that was our whole process is we would target smaller cities in America, usually outskirts of metropolitan, like big cities. And we had a great process to like get them customers.
You would acquire them through outbound at that point? Because if you're targeting that specific...
we were doing outbound. So our own growth strategy was outbound.
Okay.
Very much so, like sniping them because our pitch was performance.
But at what point did you say that I need to help other agencies now? So
that was 2020. It was literally out of crisis when, a couple things happened. One, maybe the backstory into this is 2019, my wife got pregnant. And that was part of the motivating factor here is I had a heavy weight on myself of what kind of father I wanted to be. And I realized, it was actually in that year, started doing some introspective work, is I had a limiting belief that if I ever ran out of money, I'd become the worst version of my father. And that set me on this path of like, I need to make as much money as possible, because that was the barrier from my demons. And a little context there is just like, my family went through seasons of financial instability, and I saw, dark sides of my father in that. And I associated the two. This was like one of the practical examples is, I'm not a type A person, but I log every dime in and out of my life from the time I was 18 on like a spreadsheet. I literally have Google Sheets once per year, every month of the year, tracking my inflow and outflow of expenses. Like I can tell you how much I spent in Starbucks in July of 2014. And you're like, for someone who's I'm not OCD, I'm not even generally naturally organized, I'm not driven type A kind of person in that way. But for this one area, I absolutely am. And I realized it was an obsession that, if I ever ran out of money. And so like I carried the piece there is like, I really uncomfortable with the idea of debt, really uncomfortable with like overextending myself. So I controlled by just continuously living well beneath my means. And, but in 2019, the pressure was like, how do I I called it disconnected revenue, because I'd found a way to make money, but my day could get ruined with a text message because we had high ticket customers, you know what I mean? And so like if somebody's paying you, 10, 20K a month, if they're upset, like my day's derailed. And I remember, just things from my childhood that I was like, I don't want to be that kind of person. And so I was like, I need to find a way to have no reason not to prioritize the things that I believe are going to be most important to me. And so software was like a big space in this. It's like, man, if I could have a brand that did not sell with my face, I didn't even have to know the customers. And basically it was like, they would buy from us, they would not know me, and they'd keep paying. Like it just felt magical. And so we did. It's like, I was like, oh, the way that we do affiliate marketing, I could do this for our own brand. And I told you that earlier. It's like my experience with affiliate marketing, which I thought was going to be the solution there, but 2018, remember, that got derailed.
Yeah.
So that was the whole.
I resonate, I think, too much because my wife is 7 months pregnant, and like I'm having similar conversations internally of what you just mentioned. And what for you? At what point did you feel disconnected, or do you feel disconnected? Do you have that disconnected revenue today?
100% I do. Yeah. So what was the point where I felt like this really happened? Well, so ironically, we were pushing hard up to it was April. End of April was the due date. And so I was like you and being like, he's coming April 24th. I still remember.
Yeah.
He did not come April 24th. He came almost 7 weeks early. Her water broke. And I remember my Instagram, I was that day I was joking about the run on toilet paper on like a Target because of all the fear around this like Corona, I remember the memes around like the beer Corona.
Yeah,
the Rona. And I had no idea. And so her water broke, was not expecting this. She was still working. She was a renal dietitian. She's going to be embarrassed. Well, she probably won't see this anyways. So this is allegedly, some physicians or people who work in medical care who really care about their work will take charts home on patients. You're not supposed to do this, allegedly. Maybe some people do this. My wife would never do this. But hypothetically, if she would maybe do this, we're going to the hospital and she's literally bringing work with her because she's like, I need to chart on these patients.
Her water is broke, so she's in labor and she's doing this.
But she didn't know. We had no concept. We thought like, this is weird. Like, did your water, like, does this happen kind of a thing?
Too early.
And this is the first kid, way too early. She's still working. She hadn't gone on like leave. She'd kind of planned to leave 4 weeks prior to start her maternity leave kind of a thing. And so we go to the hospital and they're like, oh, when your water breaks, you have to deliver. It's all, it basically opens up for a ton of infection. And so she wasn't having contractions there, but it's dangerous for the baby to like, once the water's broken there. And, but he was premature, not fully developed lungs, couldn't breathe on his own. And so they had to, go into labor. But I remember she's like waiting, she gets the epidural. And so she's like, it's kind of fine. She's well, allegedly maybe charting, like doing work, still thinking like, I gotta finish work. But so he's born and immediately they take him away because he couldn't, breathe on his own.
7 weeks premature.
Yeah. And he goes into the NICU, which is I think it's the neonatal intensive care unit, which I knew nothing about. And so this hospital, it's like a separate set aside, lockdown room, kind of
for
ward just for babies. But at the same time, COVID's happening around us. Like we went into the hospital and we went into the hospital at like, 2 a.m. because her water broke like overnight, and it was relatively normal for the hospital. By the time he was born, so it was like 2 days after we like came in there.
It took 2 days for him to be born from the water break?
Yeah, so they did a thing where like they tried to give him some stuff to try and accelerate the development of his lungs, and it was like
so he's still in. Your son is still in your wife's stomach.
Yeah, still in
for 2 days after the water break.
Yeah, I forget if it's like 36 hours or two days kind of thing. Basically, they're in this tension of like they want to delay it. They want to try and get him as mature as possible.
Yeah,
because he was not ready to be born. And but then also like he has to be born. You know what I mean? So they're in this weird tension there of like, okay, he has to come out.
Finally the best time.
But we're gonna try and delay the process. So they I forget what it was. They gave her a bunch of stuff to try and like accelerate his lung development. But so he's born and they take him away into the NICU, and the hospital's like shifting gears. So that was the week of COVID hit. Like that was that Monday. And
so this is like early. So
this
April,
is March. So
so March 2020.
This is March 2020.
Oh my
And
goodness.
so New York is having all the crazy stuff happen there. And so we're in California, so there really was nothing, but the hospital responded like New York was about to come to LA. And so they locked down the hospital. They wouldn't let us be in the NICU. So typically if your kid goes in the NICU, you can sleep at the hospital the whole time. You could be there 24/7. You can visit them. You can see them forever. They didn't know what to do. And so they just locked it down. So we're separated from our son. And I remember they literally started converting. There was like a room outside of the labor and delivery area where we like went and took classes to like learn how to change a diaper before. And the hospital put these on, and they were converting this room, like a little educational big space, into what looked like a like crisis center. They had like gurneys lined up, like white, sort of clear plastic, sort of separating into like, looks like another, like they were just planning for New York to come to LA. They didn't know what to do. And I was not ready. They kicked us out of the hospital, and said, your son has to just grow and in the NICU. And basically when he's ready to come out, we'll let you know, like when he's ready to like, you bring a car seat and you can take him home. But so they didn't, it was just crisis and crazy. And I remember that first night back from the hospital, I was not prepared. Of all the things that I was like, I'm going to be a great father and these are the things I'm going to face and prepare for, I never once imagined the possibility that I would have to leave the hospital without my son.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I felt so helpless as, like you feel the weight of like, I'm going to be a provider. I'm going to be a present dad. And I'm like, friggin' he's 2 days old. And like, I mean, literally a 1 day old, you feel like, well, at least I'm close to him. Like at 2 days old, he's having a sleepover. It's not a sleepover, but you know what I mean? Like he's not here with me at 2 days old. Like I have no idea what's happening to him right now. I have no idea if he's in this building that is now being flooded with like pandemic sick people.
Yeah.
What is going on? And I bawled that night. I think it was, I couldn't really sleep, and I just devised a plan in my head. I was like, I don't like this. Screw that. Like I had fought so hard to create some level of success in entrepreneurship. You know what I mean? Like I was like, I wanted to control, it's the freedom. Like I want to do what I want to do, when I want to do it, with whoever I want to do it with. And here I was in a situation where
you can't control it.
I can't control it. And I really, this is the entrepreneurial rebellion there where like, I don't want the knife. And I could not accept it. So in my mind, I was like, I remember while we were there, they did a shift change. I think it was around like 6 or 7 a.m. At the ER. So the front of the hospital shut down, and the only way to get in was through the ER. And they were doing like people would drive up in cars. Everyone freaked out. And so like if you had a cold like that in March, you were showing up to like the ER, sitting in line. I think I got that. I think I got the Rona. And people are coughing. And but you had to go through the ER to get into the hospital. And I just remember I was like, okay, well, I was like, I'm just gonna bring a car seat, bring a lunchbox, like a black lunchbox. Maybe they'll think it's like I got a heart transplant I'm carrying in, and like my backpack. And I'm just going to go every day at like 6 a.m. right at like shift change for security. So the guys, it's almost like there's a layer of confusion there, or like right before someone's about to leave. So they're like, kind of like, I don't really care about the rules sort of thing.
Yeah.
But there's just chaos anyways. And so that's what I started doing every morning. I'd go to the hospital through the ER, and I'd just be like, my son's in the NICU. And they could verify he's in the NICU. What they didn't know is that like I couldn't be in the NICU. So I could get through like 2 layers of security to get close to the NICU. Basically, I could get to like the labor and delivery wing, but I couldn't get into the NICU because they were like, well, you're not allowed in here. So
there's other babies there, right?
There's other babies there, so it's like you find each department, they're just creating policies as it's going. It's all chaos anyways. You know what I mean? Like they're literally like, I'm sure the people at the hospital are like, we're setting up plastic for when dead bodies are going to show up rolling up or whatever it is. And so it was just chaos. But so I was just like, I got to be near him. And so I go to the waiting room. There was a waiting room in labor and delivery, and it was a ghost town. I mean, they canceled all voluntary, like anybody who had a planned C-section, like unless you were literally an active labor, they did not let you into the hospital. And so it was kind of a ghost town. Wow. And, but I was in there in the waiting room by myself, working just to be near him.
Calls on.
That's what I mean. So I'm on Zoom, talking to the team who are freaking out what's going around, talking to customers who are freaking out about what's going around, and then taking like customer cancellations. And so at the time we did net 30 or net 60 terms, where it's like we would do the work and then they'd pay us. Like we would do the work with the whole pitch. I put money in your pocket and I take a percentage of that back. Afterwards. Right. But they were net 30 next 60 means they get the invoice and they had 30 days or 60 days to pay it. And we had just grown on such trust. I think I'm just naturally a very trusting person. So I was like, I want low friction in our sales process. So imagine that. I was like, pay nothing to get started. We'll put money in your pocket. We'll invoice you net 30, net 60.
They didn't pay, did they?
No, they stiffed our invoices. And so work that we had done in January and February, because it was crisis and people in uncertainty, they were just like, I'm sorry, and like certain businesses were then like ordered to shut down. They couldn't operate. So California,
so they didn't even have any some of them didn't even have any revenue to pay.
Well, and that's it, realizing I had too much trust in a system where I always thought you're never going to bite the hand that feeds you. You know what I mean? Like I put money in your pocket. Like, why would you stiff me? This is the most fair, ethical arrangement I could ever think about. Like I bore all the risk, all the ad spend, all the team to like create results, and then I'm literally putting money in your pocket to prove to you this works, and then I just take a piece back to justify all of the costs of making this work. And so it was a huge swing, a ton of uncertainty and fear in that moment. And I'm taking these calls on Zoom in the waiting room, feeling like the world is just crumbling around me, the team. And I remember, this is the entrepreneurial, what do they call it? It's like unrealistic optimism. You just have to have it.
Yeah.
You just have to believe I'm going to get through it. And so the mantra for me was like, money doesn't disappear, it shifts.
Money doesn't disappear, it shifts. When you say that, what goes through your mind?
The money's out there. I just got to put myself in the way of it.
Where did it shift to for you?
Well, so for where it shifted it was like we were serving primarily California, and it was like there were other states that thrived. There were other business centers that thrived. We all saw. So it's like, and what I found is like I was able to create value in a smaller capacity, but for more people. So we turned around and launched HL Pro Tools, and then so we call it like July was the launch of HL Pro Tools, and August was the launch of Zappy Chat. So these were two things that we were doing for ourselves. So
straight pivot.
It's hard to understand. We didn't like invent anything new. We already had the systems in place. So we already had a knowledge base that we had created for HighLevel for ourselves. And we were like, oh, we could version 1 was like, let's just don't mention our brand. Literally remove the brand from our knowledge base, and then other people could use it. And so we just said things like in the CRM and stuff like that. So immediately it's like, we already have a knowledge base. Delete the word where it was our brand, replace that with something generic, and now I can instantly sell that to other folks that have a similar problem. And the value that I brought was we keep it up to date. I have full-time team members who are already keeping this up to date, because there were other providers who were maybe like we've got a library, but they sold a one-time fee. And so the issue was HighLevel developed so quickly that it immediately became out of date.
There was other providers of support, knowledge base, and
no, not the support, just the knowledge base, or like the videos. There were people who like created sort of like support videos.
Okay.
And they sold it for a one-time fee. Here's your support videos. And the problem HighLevel develops too quickly. So they were doing it, and it was like you would buy it and it was already out of date because they weren't motivated to like
update it.
They had like no reason. And so the further, it was, they're constantly making new ones. So it's like the one I made yesterday is up to date. The one I made 9 months ago is not up to date. And so you buy into it and you're like, literally on day one, half of this is out of date. And then like after a year, like all of this is out of date. So the faster HighLevel got at releasing features, the worse those offerings became. And so, yeah,
you turned it on its head. Where instead of one-time payment, it's subscription.
Only subscription.
We will update it.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
We'll update it for
you.
And
then we said we'll also run your support. So for me, I was just like, I want to not have to fire the team. And we had folks kind of like in cross-functional capacity where, I'd say like on a given week, we might literally for 300 folks, you'd be like, okay, there's 10 to 30 tickets per week that would come through. And that took us, let's say, 30 hours of work. But I had like 3 people doing it. So you're like 30 hours of work split between 3 people, but they did other roles. We were doing a lot of the performance marketing side. Well, that got crumbled. So it's like, well, I don't want, and I'd done full-time things. I was paying people full-time, 40 hours, W-2, and I felt their uncertainty. And I was like committed to like, I'm going to do everything in my power to create value. So, you don't have to, stop paying your rent or foreclose on your mortgage or whatever it might be that they're, fearful of in that moment there. And so it was immediately like, okay, you're all basically working, you have less than 10 hours of work, paying you for 40. We could go and get other folks and I have no cost. You just have more work. And so we were just sort of like selling the excess of what we already had.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so that was the value offering. I was like, I already have people who already know the system because they already do it. And we
did it transpire into, is HL Pro Tools the biggest company that you ever ran?
Yeah, now it is.
Was that the play? Was that the vision? Like,
that wasn't the vision.
This is what it could be.
It was survival. No,
it was survival.
There was no big vision there. It was literally survival.
Okay. And then was there a transition where you said, hey, you know what? I'm going to because I noticed like there's different brands and but HL Pro Tools is like the main brand that I see that you promote and focus on.
Yeah.
Is there a growth strategy that, hey, I'm not going to wear a Zappy t-shirt everywhere. I'm going to wear an HL Pro Tools t-shirt. I'm going to focus on traffic. Is there a strategy behind that, or is that just because of the size of the company?
Yeah, well, I'd say it's been like the last year. I did not always wear an HL Pro Tools shirt.
Okay.
So a couple things happened in the last year. So we sold our SaaS brand.
Zappy Chat.
Well, okay, sorry. So we sold two things. So we had, so Chiro Dominance was a chiropractor focused software. And so here's what here's a tip. Entrepreneurs suffer from like the ADHD. Alex Sharfin talks about it in this way. He says like we're entrepreneurial hunters, or we're evolutionary hunters is what he calls it. And so like the entrepreneur is kind of like the hunter of old humanity. And hunters love the challenge, and we can get bored with the boring work. That works, right? So think of like if you had hunters, gatherers, farmers back in the day, like those are key critical roles to like feed and fuel civilization. The hunter, I put it as was like you go out and you're like you hunt and you kill a bear, and then you're like, well, I already know how to kill bears, so now I want to go and I want to kill an elk or a moose or a bison or whatever it is. And so you're almost fascinated and enthralled by the challenge of the hunt. Mm-hmm. Even now, you look at like hunters, there's a piece of it where it's like not a lot of them. I'll tell you this, like for anybody who's out there and like hunting, even for hunting for meat, let's pick like bison and buffalo. There are places that have essentially overstocked herds, and you could just go there and there's the whole herd. They basically tell you like, it's sort of like I don't
want to lose that thought. You were saying that you sold Chiro Dominance.
Yeah. Okay. So finish the fuel. Well, I was just saying that's ADHD. You can add a ton of different things. The only reason why these have all been successful for me is because I've instituted operators. I don't wake up every day thinking like I have to do this whole thing just me. Or I'm not even in charge of like the buck stuff doesn't stop here with me. I can't say that I fully removed the mental energy that goes into that, even being involved with more things. And so it was probably about 2 years ago where I realized the mental energy anguish of being involved in a lot of things. And so we had done stuff, we had bought into other companies. We had, it felt like do more of what you know. And so it's like at every level, pick whatever it is. I'll tell you now, like growing HL Pro Tools to $100 million company I've never done that. Never done that. Now, if I had to pick like growing a company to, 10, 20, 30 million, it's like, I know how to do that. And so it feels easier to go back and be like, let me just do what I know.
Yeah.
Which is fair.
Multiple times over.
Yeah, just do it. Yeah, just do it 5 times over in different areas there. And and so that's why. And so for a lot of folks, they cap out, they either reach a threshold and level of like, sometimes it's skill. It really comes down to like capacity and,
those operators, are they visionaries? Or are they integrators?
Yeah, I've definitely mostly placed integrators. And so that's the interesting thing too, is like you do have a threshold of integrators. Really, this is the thing I've heard before is like your business only grows as much as you do.
But does that limit the growth of that business if it's only integrators? Because if the vision's coming from you time and time again, 5 times over in different companies.
That's what I'm saying. But like functionally, whoever's the buck stops here person, the business only grows as much as they do. So if you're the leader, the business only grows as much as you do. Like say that's you as a person at every level. There are new skills, there are new disciplines, there are new challenges that you're going to face. And a lot of folks, their business plateaus or they reach a ceiling of their skill level, their willingness to grow. And so then they just go and do the same thing in a different area, right? And you hear this pretty commonly. It's like, it'll be like, oh, I could grow a business to $1 million a year, plateaued, and then my own distraction kills it.
Start from
And so then
scratch.
I start from scratch, and I'm fascinated. And you just find like you, and that's the evolutionary hunter who's like, I know how to kill a bear, but I just want something slightly different. So I'm going to go and hunt a buffalo.
Yeah.
Right. And because it feels boring to do the thing that you already know how to do. There's not that same kind of thrill and challenge that you go through in that experience.
So what's the different mindset? Rather than starting to go ahead and kill another, kill another, and kill another, what's the different mindset that an entrepreneur should have in order to take it from, hey, I'm good at taking it to 1 million or 2 million, but I want to take it to 30 or 40 or 100.
Yeah.
What's the new mindset that they should have?
Well, I'll say this is I don't even feel for myself like the should have. I think you contextualize it well. It's like, I'm not going to prescribe anything to anyone. You don't have to do anything. I think actually the first thing that a lot of folks miss is they didn't define what they want. So depending on what you want, then I could contextualize the advice here. So
what's the
let's
new
say
mindset you had?
okay. So the mindset that I had is that the purpose of life is to grow. And for me, I believe the greatest thing that I will do is not something I will do. It's someone that I'll raise. And so for me, I really do believe the best thing I can do is become the best coach possible. That's what I'm growing towards, to be the best coach possible. I want to stretch and push and challenge myself. And I actually kind of don't really care whether I succeed or whether I fail, because the game that I'm playing is I will be a phenomenal coach to my kids on just the human level. And my wife and I say, like, we are raising kind and confident kids to become adults that want to spend time with us when they no longer have to. That's my rich life. That's the end game. That's what I'm working towards. But here's what I realized in raising them to be just phenomenal, world-changing people. I don't let myself get complacent. And I continuously challenge myself to welcome the uncomfortable mind F that it is to grow a business beyond what you've done before. And so I'll give you a story. This is, I don't think I've ever shared this in a recorded context here. And so we've employed a lot of folks, and over the years, like that means you hire and fire. You constantly find the business typically grows faster than people are willing to grow. And so what once served the business, I think of like a team, they're not going to be the same players on the team. It's like, if you think of like incepting a bit like brand new business, you're basically like, you're T-ball. And as the leader, it's like, I've taken businesses from like T-ball to major leagues. I'll say like, we are in a category of businesses. Well, I actually don't know what percent of businesses clear over $10 million a year. But it's a very small amount. And I feel fine saying we're at least in the minor leagues. If you take the sports analogy there, but so that means we've gone from T-ball to minor leagues, potentially major league. I think a lot of folks would be like, if you're doing $10 million a year, like that's major leagues. So, that's a huge shift. And so people on the team, even in like I'm going like baseball. My son's playing baseball right now, but like the, pony baseball or like middle school or high school, like the players on all of those teams, it becomes a smaller and smaller pool that even can make it to the next space. And it would be crazy that the team that you were on that you had for T-ball also was the same team that carried you through to the major leagues. It's just not likely. It's just not real. So I give that as context to say, like now we push over, it changes all the time. And so, but I believe right now we're over 300 team members.
BAM or HL Pro Tools or?
HL Pro Tools. That's it. Oh, and, but so in that evolution and we do, so BAM is technically the employer. So BAM is still the employer. And so I had an employee we had somebody who broke trust. They literally tried to like unionize, which is not like go against
it's
not against, but just here's the analogy that I said at the time is they wanted, we had some HR policy, and I've handed over HR like from the start. We have amazing head of HR, created all these policies. She came over from, it was like Marshalls or some like big Fortune 5,000 company or whatever. And there was a policy there about, I forget, it was like PTO or a policy about vacation days. I forget what it was. Here's what it felt like. It felt like if your wife and you were like trying to decide where to go to dinner and she wants Chinese food and you wanted Mexican food. And instead of just her saying, hey, can we have Chinese food? She like rents a billboard truck and like parks it in like your driveway. It says like, let's get Chinese food. And you're like, cool. Like, sure. I don't care. But you put a lot of work and effort into like asking me. You could have just asked me. You could have just said like, hey, I want Chinese food. Good. Yeah. It felt like that from like an HR people perspective, where they did this whole thing, organize this kind of crazy, almost like walk it, like they're gonna like rebel against us as like bosses. And their ask, I was like, sure. Like, I honestly don't care whether we, have 7 vacation days a year or 9 vacation days a year. You know what I mean? It's like, this is not a big ask, you know?
Yeah.
But they did kind of like one weird underhanded thing about it as they did it. And so then I went and we had to talk to the manager. No one said who did it, right? It's like someone put the billboard truck in front of the driveway and you're like, well, who did this? Like, the ask is not a big ask, but like, who put in the effort? And this person lied. And they were the organizer, which is not an issue, but they just lied to my face. I'm having the conversations and I'm explaining like, this is not a big ask. It's totally fine. And so somebody else was like, hey, this person and I did it. The person who was like straightforward and said like, yeah, we did it. They kept their job. The person who lied to my face lost their job. Like,
it sounds like there's challenges in running a $10 million business, but also there's growth opportunities, and there's the mindset of how to become that top 0.00% of running a multi-7-figure business. Would you be willing to do a part 2 on how and the challenges that comes in running a $10 million business?
Yeah, I'd happily do it.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to part 1 of this amazing interview with Matt Deseno. We're going to be doing a part 2 with Matt Deseno, where I'm going to really go in deep. He just sold a company called Zapier, and we're going to talk about how he sold multiple SaaS companies. And in addition to that, how he's able to run and manage his current multiple 7-figure business. Without further ado, I'll see you on the next episode, or it's somewhere around the channel. So be sure to subscribe and I'll see you there.